What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple Play Fantasy YouTube channel. I am your host, as always, Kevin Coleman at @DuBois__ 22 on Twitter, where you can find me. And I'm back with another Devy episode. I apologize for not getting one out earlier. I've been under the weather. Luckily, I'm doing a lot better. So now I'm back, and I appreciate all the support we've had on the channel. We just hit 1K subscribers, and I can't be thankful enough for everybody out there that hit that subscribe button. Now, hey, college football's here, baby. Less than 2 weeks, and we got week 0, and I will be at the Fresno State game. I'm excited about that. So we got to get rolling on some of these and get some of the teams out of the way that I want to talk about. And up next on the show is Arizona State. You know, the Sun Devils are one of my favorite teams. They're somebody that I've really liked. I pegged them to win the Pac-12 this year. They've been my sleeper team for this season. And then on the offseason happens, something we got to talk about is that, the NCAA is now investigating them for recruiting violations, something about illegal visits. We don't know what's going to happen there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down. I don't think anything's going to happen this season. I'm going to break this down as far as Devy assets and what they could do this season without the allegations. I got to address it on the video because I'd like to be upfront with everything that's going on, but we just don't know what's going on. NCAA investigations take a long time. They put a few coaches on leave. After that, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with their program, but I just want to say, based on what we see this year, what could they be? So let's take a look at the schedule. Nothing really stands out to me too much. Herm Edwards and those guys have done a pretty good job of recruiting. They've built this team to compete this year. And so when you look at the schedule, any games that stand out for me, maybe UCLA. That could be one. When you look at what Chip's done at UCLA, this could be maybe his last year if he doesn't turn that thing around. You saw UCLA come on a little bit at the end of the season last year and the year before. They seem to be building something, but is it enough? And it's away. Then Utah, always tough to play Utah. Kyle Wood had done a great job, a great program. Again, another away game. If they can get by those two, then they got USC at home. And a game that they should have won last year. Can they beat USC? The only way they're going to win the Pac-12 is to get by USC and Washington, which is away as well. So those are the games. If they can beat those teams, get by them, I could see it. They have the talent, and that's what we're going to go to. Let's break down their depth chart. So this team is talented, top to bottom on the offensive side of the ball. And it all starts with our boy Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a kid that's been there. He's a true freshman, played there since he was a true freshman, started since he's a true freshman. Right now, he is going as quarterback 9. And when you look at his ADP, I actually think he's a value. And he's an incredible value that you can own. You have DJU, Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, Bryce Young, Keaton Slovis, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Carson Strong. All of them are going ahead of Jaden Daniels. And when you look at that list, I would be very comfortable trading Keaton Slovis for Jaden Daniels and plus something. I wrote an article recently for Campus to Canton. I would have you guys check that out at campustocanton.com. And I talked about how Slovis is a crazy piece to own right now because of his value shift. Jaden is a guy that you could maybe grab that maybe has a higher, safer floor than Slovis based on his rushing upside. So let's take a look at what, Jaden is. He's 6'3", 185. College stats, so this is for 2 years, but remember, they didn't play. I think they played 4 games last year, so, skewed a little bit. 254 for 422, 60% completion percentage, 3,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 158 attempts, 578 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So as a quarterback, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He has that rushing upside we like to see, but there are some question marks. So let's kind of go through what you see with Jaden, what he is as a quarterback. First of all, dual threat all day, every day. You'll see this. His ability to rush, his ability to basically RPOs, his ability to read option. He has that all. That's his number one thing. He's a top level dual threat athlete. And he came out of high school like that the same way. He was a fantastic high school football player. And with what he is at the college level, he can do that as well. He's a top level athlete. He can drive the ball downfield. So when you watch him, he does a pretty good job of that. Driving the ball downfield. He reads defense as well as he does. He reads defense as well. You'll see him go through his progressions. There's a reason why he's only thrown 3 interceptions in his career in college. Just because he reads the defense as well, goes through his progressions well, and finds the open man. And really, in reality, you're going to watch a lot of his tape right now, which is rushing. That's what he brings. And when we talk about quarterbacks in the fantasy space, that's what we want. We want rushing quarterbacks that can do this. That's exactly what we'd like to see. Now, again, you'll see him. He does have some arm talent. He doesn't make many mistakes. He gets the ball out quick. I love his release, and I love him going up and giving it to his receiver in the best spot. He does very good on the run, and you watch him. He has very good footwork. He has very good, ball placement when he's on the run. He can step up pretty good and get it to his guys. He does a lot of good things that you'd like to see from a quarterback. And he has that dual threat ability. And I love this throw, be able to get to the outside. Those are the things that matter. And those are the things that matter to me when I watch him play. He can get it to the outside. He hits on the second level. He doesn't make mistakes in terms of like, hey, doesn't make the wrong read, doesn't make the wrong pass. He only has 3 interceptions. He does a good job with his decision making. Now, he needs to put on size. I think that's the one thing that worries everybody because he's 185 pounds. I know somewhere out there they were saying he's 200. I don't know what he came into as camp because those numbers are always skewed and inconsistent. So if he can get to 200 pounds, I think a lot of people would be very happy with who he was as a quarterback because of that size that he has. And at times he can be inconsistent, but it's more about like just throws sometimes can be inconsistent. Not his production, not his ability to think. And he has that ability. He has an intangibles of thinking ability, which I love. I love that about Jaden. I'm all in on Jaden this year. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people. And in a class where you're like, hey, who's that third quarterback? It would not surprise me to see him jump up there. Right now, he's my QB5 of this class, and realistically, I could see him jump up. I know I'm a little higher on him than most guys in the industry, but I still think he has what you like to see: dual threat ability, doesn't make mistakes, thinker of the game, intangibles, athletic. Like, what more don't you want from a fantasy quarterback? Now, one of the probably strengths of this team, the best strengths, is the running backs. So you have Rashad White, ADP is 161.80, running back 57. Chip Trammon, ADP is 33.60, running back 12. Danny Nagata, 259.70, running back 90. And then DJ Taylor is there as well. But these guys are very good. And when we look at like what each running back can bring to the table, let's start with Chip. So Chip here is 5'11", 235. He's a monster. He's one of those guys that is just big, strong, physical, just a monster. And you can see that just by, just look at his profile pic here. But 2020 stats, he had 49 attempts last season, 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I think what you have to know is that touchdowns. That's what matters, okay? That touchdown, what he does well. He's going to score touchdowns because of his size, red zone threat all day, every day. Then let's take a look just basically at his film, what he did. Now, again, remember, he came out and there was a lot of question marks about him, like being able to get to that next level for his speed wise, but you'll see it here. He had a great game last year against USC, and you'll notice it here. Quick feet. And I think that's the thing that I hate always using this comp, Lindale White, but he has that sudden burst and that quick feet, reads his blocks well. You'll see it here. And this is his strength. He's a freaking load, man. You're not taking him down with arm tackles. You try that, you're going to get just destroyed. And that's what I like about him here. And you notice it here. And he doesn't have terrible hands. And when he gets downfield, you can tell he starts just booming. And he's quick and he can hit the hole fast. I think that he's, out of all the guys on this list, especially like that running back crew, I think that he is probably the best Devy asset to own based on size, what he can bring to the field, what he has. Now, as far as Arizona State goes, when we looked at this, when I showed you guys, Rashad Wright's going to get some playing time. I think people are thinking that he's not. They're going to be in here. I don't think for C2C this is a backfield I want too much unless you're looking for Chip to maybe getting some touchdowns. Now, here's the thing, though. So you see him, he's going as running back 12. That's pretty high. For me, I think he's right in that third tier of guys, but I can see why he's going as running back 12. But when you look at his production, remember, he only had this last season. Yes, it was a shortened season, but I think you're drafting him at his absolute ceiling right now. So I think we need to temper our expectations just a little bit on Chip, just a little bit. Now, the next guy I want to talk about is Danny Nagata, 5'9", 200 pounds. Young kid out of Folsom, California. So shout out to my California kids. I like this kid too, and I think he is a value. So when you're looking at where he's going right now, running back 90, I think he's a value right now in drafts. 26 attempts, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. Out of Folsom, he was an excellent athlete. Let's just take a look at some of his high school tape. Not a ton of his college tape last year just because they were, short, all those type of things. But you look at what he does. He runs more powerful than you think for his size. That 200 pounds is legit. He runs with a burst, and he's got big playability. And you watch it on this film and you watch this highlight, you'll see it. He's got big playability all day on this. And now he's Joe Nagata's brother, the young wide receiver from Clemson, who I hope can stay healthy. But again, you'll watch it here. Reads his blocks well, explodes, makes the guy miss. Like, he's just toying with guys right there. That's a great move. He shows good patience. I like that. He has that vision that you would like to see. I do think that he's going to make some type of impact on the special teams this year for Arizona State. So depending on what your leagues are, if you're playing college fantasy football or C2C, he could get you some points there. I think that he hits that hole hard, and he's a very good shiftiness is the key word here. Now, Chip and him are going to very complement each other very well. I think Chip's going to be that downhill runner, score touchdowns here, and then you're going to have the guy to come in and just be that shifty, making people miss, elusive running back that you like to see. And I also think he has a hell of a hands for the backfield. So when you're talking about like as a receiver, I think he's a receiving threat. 247 sports comped him to Christian McCaffrey, which is out of his mind craziness. But when you watch him play, he does have that receiving threat, that receiving ability that you like to see. He's a vertical threat. And I think he could play in the slot too if he really wanted to. Like they can move him around, especially that wide receiver room that they have, and use him in the passing game. And that would be fantastic, especially with Jaden Daniels. But you'll see it here. He has catching ability. And he's a steal right now in leagues. I think he's not getting drafted as high as the other guys just because of, playing time opportunities and so forth. But if you get him a running back 90, you're talking about a kid that maybe has NFL potential if he can have that breakout this year or next year. And so, I'll take him all day where he's going. So Daniel Gott is a guy that's a campus to Canton must draft for me. Get him where he's going at running back 90. Now, the wide receiver rooms has a lot of question marks. So in reality, there's only 3 of them getting drafted right now. Elijah Badger, he's getting wide receiver 77. Johnny Wilson's wide receiver 148. LV Bunkley Shelton is wide receiver 49. So the guy that we are going to talk about is LV. So LV Bunkley Shelton, 5'11", 195. 2020 stats last year, had 11 receptions, 100 yards, and 0 touchdowns. Didn't see the field ton. He's coming from California. He came in last year as wide receiver 27. So he does have that kind of recruiting pedigree, and he came in as a 4-star. So when you talk about, recruiting pedigree, what he has. Now, think about him. He's got muscle. He's put on some muscle as we've seen at Arizona State. He came in at 180. It looks like he's 195 listed. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. You'll see it here. He has good eye discipline. He has excellent hands. Like when you're watching him, and his route running is pretty close to being almost perfect. Like he creates separation very well with his route running. I like what I see from him in terms of yards after catch. I think that's really where he's going to make his money in college football. Getting those yards after catch. I think he's going to excel in the RPO game, especially with Jaden Daniels. And I love that about him. I hope they line him up in the slot a lot like you see here. And he has ability to get to the outside, and he doesn't catch with his body. All of it is hands. He has high level of hand-eye coordination. Like I love his eye discipline when he's about to catch that football. He keeps it on there. He's aggressive. You see him here. He lays people out. He's one of those intangibles guys. He's got a high-level work ethic, and that's what everybody talks about. Everything I've looked up on him and talked about him, they say high-level work ethic, and he's getting rave reviews out of Arizona State training camp and everything that they're doing right now in the fall camp. So you could see him being their wide receiver 1 in this offense. Could he get the targets, manipulate the targets, get him there? I think they can. I love where he's going. And as far as like his ADP, wide receiver 49 and ADP 146, that's not bad. That's a value. So grab it. I think Arizona State's got a ton of value on this roster. Like when you look at top to bottom, even tight ends, which we're going to talk about in a minute, like they have value. And if you think of Arizona State as highly as I do, then you're going to jump on that value and go with it. So let's look at the tight ends really quick. Curtis Hodges is probably going to start for them. Case Hatch. Jalen Connors is the guy that we're going to talk about. Jake Ray and Ryan Morgan. So let's talk about Jalen. 6'4", 250 kid. He transferred from Oklahoma. So he did not play at Oklahoma. He redshirted and he transferred. The thing about him, and when we watch his tape, you're going to, I have a lot of fun watching Jalen's tape. So Jalen played everywhere on that field, man. Like he's a great athlete. He has good hands. When you watch out of him, he carries good weight. I put this in here too as a defensive player just to show you his athleticism. He's playing linebacker, coming out, guarding a slot, wide receiver, gets the interception, able to take it to the house. Anytime I could throw in some defensive highlights, I got to do it. But you look at him, he ran a 4.7 in college teen camp, so he's quick, what you like to see from there. He actually played a little quarterback in high school as well, so he's an athlete. That's better than I could do, but you just see it here. Now, competition is one of those things. Hey, did he play against – he was a small school multi-sport athlete, so we're looking at a small sport thing. But, hey, he did play a little quarterback. He played a little defense. He played some wide receiver. He did everything, as you can tell here. He was just an athlete. Now, he led him to state title appearances, so that's nothing to sneeze at here. They like to get him out in space, which I think he can do. He's an athlete, and he does that. He plays all over the field, runs extremely well after the catch. He's a naturally fluid athlete from what you look at. And, he moved the tight end to slot, so he's pretty versatile from what I watched. It's hard to say, like, high school tape because of the low-level competition that he played against and just where he moved. Like, it's hard for me to judge him as a tight end when he's playing quarterback. But as just like what he can do, hey, at a certain point, you're looking at a tight end and being athletic. I'll take that all day, especially with where he's going. So he's going as tight end, I believe, 35. Hey, tight end landscape, if you're going to wait on tight end in your C2C league or whatever, you can do that. Now, I will say from all the reports that I've heard is that he is having a hell of a camp. Like, he's really standing out. He's doing a lot of different things. They said he's been one of the best. He's been one of the best players in camp for them. So with that tight end position being kind of wide open, if we realistically look at this tight end position that we see, like, it's pretty wide open for them. I wouldn't doubt maybe him getting that starting spot. And now we're really talking about something bigger here. So I'm just saying, okay, watch out for Jalen Connors. Athlete, athletic, and he put on weight that they wanted to see. I know he came into Oklahoma probably at 220. He put on 30 pounds of muscle this last year after redshirting. Hey, I'm taking that all day. Now, let's talk about the 2022 recruiting class. So when we're talking about the recruiting class here, you know, right now, they're not – I think it's because of the, you know, perceived sanctions, maybe, the investigation going on. They don't have a ton of hard commits. Now, remember, on this show, we just talked about hard commits. We're not looking at, like, everybody else here. So when we're looking at, you know, hard commits, what they have, the guy that we're looking at is Tevin White. So Tevin White, right now, he's 6'1", 200, running back, okay, from Virginia. Now, this kid is very good size. He plays very big. And like I said, you know, he's got the size there. He's got 200 pounds. So let's look at his highlights. Literally, I know usually we go to 2 or 3 different athletes, but Tevin really is the only offensive player that's signed with Arizona State right now. Now, you'll watch him here. He has good size that you like to see, you know, and again, 200 to 210 pounds, if you can get to that and not lose any athleticism there. They like to kind of put him outside. You'll see it here. Good hands, all-purpose back, and he can be a workhorse. Like, he can do all things. This kid is a 3-down back. He's got big playability. He accelerates through the hole pretty well when you watch him play on his huddle tape. You'll see it here with what he's able to do as a runner. He does have some receiving upside. Again, that was just terrible defense, but, you know, at least he caught the ball and scored. But you'll watch him here. Like, you'll see the things that he does as a runner. Inside, good quick cut. That cut right there, that second-level cut, is legit. And then he's here. He has the speed. He has the strength to kind of pull away. He can line up all over the place, and that's what they'll do. They line him in the slot, line him in different places. He's a receiver, though, and this is why I say he's a 3-down back. That's something that, you know, when we look at these assets later on, these fantasy assets, PPR assets, Tevin White could be that guy that we're talking about as a PPR asset, right? He can set up blocks. He does pretty well on it in pass blocking. They talked about he's really good. And I think the thing that stood out to me from his tape is right here, just the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, design pass plays, slots in the back. That's what I like to see, and you'll see it here too. Again, you're going to notice that they just like to get him the ball, and then he can make people miss. He's got a little bit of tackle breaking ability. He's got to get better at that. But again, he's developing. You'll see him this year. Hopefully, COVID, Virginia, they allow him to play a little bit more, getting up and catching that ball. And again, that's where his strength's going to be. He's still got a little nuanced parts of the game. He's got to clear up some of that running ability. He can run a little bit too high. But as far as right now, when you're looking at him, he's running back 23 of the class. But again, he's come into a situation with, you know, a star-studded running back room that we looked at. So, again, I think we need to temper our expectations. Now, as far as Arizona State, if Arizona State gets some of the recruits that they are recruiting, Kevin Coleman from St. Mary's, he's at St. Louis, Missouri. He's wide receiver 2 right now. He's actually on Arizona State's there. Cyrus Moss, one of the best edge rushers in the country, is there. And you just go through the list. They have some guys that could come to Arizona State. Chris Marshall, young wide receiver out of Missouri City, Texas. There's some guys that if they get, you're going to talk about this class as being legit. It's just I think a lot of guys are waiting to see what those sanctions are going to be, what's the NCAA going to do. But anyway, when we talk about Arizona State, I really think they can compete for that Pac-12 championship. As you can see here, UNLV and then BYU, those places. Watch that UCLA game. Watch that Utah game. Other than that, I'm a big Jaden Daniels guy. Please believe in him, what he can do, what he can accomplish. I think that can be really well for them. Running backs, Chip, Rashad, Daniel Nagata. Look at Nagata and say, hey, you know what? Should I take a shot at him at running back 90? Wide receivers, take a shot at Elvie Bunkley-Shelton. I think he's a very good value. And honestly, I'm taking a shot on Jalen Connors all the way. One of my co-owners of a team, the C2C team we have, his name is Todd Fosterman is one of my better friends on Twitter. He drafted Jalen, I think, in the late 40s, in the 40th round of a startup we were in. I was like, hey, who is this kid? So shout out to him a few months ago for getting him on him. And then obviously the 2022 recruiting class right now is just Tevin White. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging with me while I've been out for a little while. Again, I'm going to get a couple more Devy videos up before the season starts, but we got 13 days from the day I'm recording this to watch some college football. So I'm excited. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time.